messing around.
Welcome to a Loft Meeting. Man, oh man, these are my favorite. These are my favorite episodes. Real talk, real life. Ask anybody. To give you a little context of why these are my favorite episodes, and why this has always been my history of loving these episodes, these type of episodes. I used to be a Much Music VJ back in the day in Canada. And they had a bunch of different shows and everybody wanted to host those shows and they were really cool. And they would have an hour in the middle of the day called Video Flow, where people would send in emails or they would call in and it was all live and ask their questions or request a video or be like, Becky, I love you so much. Please don't break up with me. Let's play this old Aaliyah track and hopefully she falls back in love with me. And I requested to host it every single day. It was my favorite thing to hear from people, that loved our show, that wanted to have a voice on it, to have their questions answered. And so that's why Loft Meetings are my favorite, because it's exact same vibes. If you have any questions for us about the show, about guest stars, anything you want to know, send in your questions. Don't take it to Reddit. I mean, take it to Reddit. And then also bring it to us at the messaroundpod at gmail.com. And we read all of them. Send in voice notes or a little video. We will play them. I like to see your faces, hear your voice. These episodes are for you to get all these burning new girl questions out of the way. Speaking of cool things with New Girl, before we dive into our first questions, some of you know Lamorne and I designed some merch. New Girl mess around merch. I don't even see this like cute little sweater I'm wearing. It says the mess around, a classic. Real ones know. And we have toques, all sorts of stuff. Really great holiday gifts. I wear mine all the time. And so does Lamorne. So do all our friendies. And then tag us. We'll always share it. And you can also tag the Mess Around Pod at on IG. Okay, let's dive in. Okay. Okay, so this first email came from Sarah J. Hey, Hannah and Lamorne, just want to say, huge fan. And also, I remembered that auction Hannah mentioned on the box episode. Whoop, whoop. I always wondered who bought the couch for $6,000, and honestly, I'm so happy it ended up with you. Oh, thank you. I ended up getting a chair back of Hannah's. Ooh, and some pieces of mail, as well as the valet ticket that Jess wrote. I always wondered who got that. And now it hangs proudly in a display at my home. Here's some pics. Thanks for being the best show out there. Love you both. P.S. I also got the apartment number tattooed on me because the show always meant so much. Sarah, you're like the super fan. This is like, you're the reason why we started this podcast. For people who are like diehard New Girl fans, we're going to like put it on our body. We're going to hang it on the wall. I love that. That auction was so crazy to see. I remember when the show ended. And it was wild because they were selling like all our clothes. I was like, who wants the pair of like shorts Schmidt wore when he was like running down the street? Fans did, I guess. It was very cool. It was really cool to see that it all sold. Awesome. Well, thanks, Sarah. That's cool. All right. Next question. Here we go. This is from Isabella. All right. Hi, Hannah and Lamorne. I have a very cat-centric question for you both, since I'm also a cat lover myself, just like you, Hannah. Good thing you said just like me, Hannah, because as we know, Lamorne has some feline issues. He has some feelings about the felines, you know. I do not. I love cats. But first, I'd just like to quickly share how much I appreciate your work on New Girl. I was late to the party, a little over a year after lockdown, when I started my initial watch through the show. I remember going into it unsure if it was my cup of tea, but immediately halfway into season 1, I was hooked. The show quickly became a favorite, and I'm currently on my third rewatch, this time attempting to hook my dad as well after successfully spreading the viral laughter to everyone else in my family. Your work together on New Girl has really become such a comfort show to me now, and something I instantly feel the need to put on when times are stressful or life is weighing me down. Being a 25-year-old girl still trying to figure out life like all the characters do on the show really resonates with me and helps me feel less alone in the journey of adulthood. So thank you both and the rest of the cast and crew for fostering that impact all those years ago. My question for you guys is, insert drum roll here. She wrote that already. Someone I adore to just write that. We know Winston is the cat lover in the series, and Hannah is the cat lover in real life. If Cece were to be a cat lady herself, what type of cat do you think she'd own? And what do you think she'd name him or her? How do you think it would go down with Schmidt and Ruth? Also, if either of you are a cat, what type do you feel best represents you and why? I'd be a gray Mancoon. Here's a picture of my furry friend who watches New Girl with me most days. Meet Harold the kitty, a.k.a. Harry, a.k.a. Harold Houdini. I think him and Hannah would make great friends if they were ever to meet. Thanks so much for hosting this podcast and continuing the New Girl legacy. Congratulations to Lamorne on his Emmy win. Can't wait to see what you both do next. All the love, Isabella. Isabella, that is the nicest email. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm a die-hard cat rescuer. But I feel like it's in my blood. My mom has a twin brother, my Uncle Paul, and I have a lot of memories of my uncle rescuing all animals. When I say all animals, I mean all animals. And he then would, classic brother move, bring it to my mom's house, sister's house. He'd bring it over to our house. So we had all sorts of like rescue animals all the time. We had, dogs and cats and guinea pigs and I don't know. He would always just bring all the animals over. So I'm a huge animal lover. What do I think Cece, what kind of cat do I think she'd own? I feel like, maybe a Bengal. I love Bengals. They're so beautiful and like sleek and super smart. And I think that I think Schmidt would love it. I think Schmidt loves anything that Cece loves. So I think Schmidt would love it. He'd be down. And of course, Ruth would be into it because she's awesome. I think a Bengal. What would she name the cat? I feel like that would be a Schmidt-Cece conversation, and she'd get to pick the cat, and then he would get to name it. And she'd be like, fine, I don't care as long as I get the cat. And he would name it something ridiculous. I don't know what that would be. Do you have any ideas? What would Schmidt name their cat? I want to hear from you. Something great. I mean, I've had so many cats in my life. I'll share their names. I've had Jake, Franklin, Alfie, Zeke. Zeke was a cutie. Zeke. I've written about him a bunch on my Instagram because I only had him for a few weeks. He was a super, super sweet little impactful little kitty. Yeah, I don't know, but something cool. All right. And what was your other question? If I were a cat, I'd probably want to be a little rescue cat. Probably, to be honest with you. They always have their fun little adaptable personalities and like snuggles. Kind of like me. All right. Next one from Haley. Okay, here's what she says. I'm so sorry. This isn't a question about the episode. I know that would probably be more helpful for your podcast, but I just couldn't think of one. I love the honesty. But I wanted to thank you guys because honestly, life is just hard sometimes. And when you're in a really low place, something unserious and warm-hearted can really lift your spirits. I don't want to go into too much detail, but amongst other things, I had a stillbirth this year when I was 9 months pregnant. The pain of losing my baby just before we were supposed to welcome him into the world is something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Every day since has then required a concerted amount of effort just to get out of bed and keep going. And your podcast has brought me laughter and levity in times when I didn't think anything could. Obviously, I'm a fan of the show, But I just wanted to take a moment to honor what you guys are doing now and say thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. Oof, Haley. Oh my goodness. Well, first I want to say I feel grateful that we could offer any comfort or momentary, heart distraction while you are trying to cope and are dealing with grief. We've had so many people reach out over the years since we started making the show about dealing with grief or dealing with pain, and how this show has been like a salve to them. And Lamorne and I discuss it all the time. I've talked to Zoe about it a bunch, about how that's one of the greatest things we've heard about our show, is that when you just can't deal with people and you are feeling overwhelmed and actually just can't even handle the level of pain or grief that you're feeling, and you need a coping mechanism, that our show is there. And I feel really grateful, to be honest with you, to Fox, that they, I feel like we were kind of the last of the dinosaurs. They let us make, 100+ episodes. I feel like that doesn't really happen anymore with network comedies, or as often. And because of that, I think that's not only the comfort of the show and what the show is about, but it's there's so much of it that if you're going through weeks or months of grief, there's enough there's enough like thread on the spool to support you. I'm really grateful that you shared that. Thank you. And we're thinking of you and love you, and just one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. And turn on the show if you need us. We're always there. Next letter is from Devin. I wasn't sure how to reach out to the show, my love, so I decided I would try this platform. Oh, I appreciate this podcast so much. Since New Girl is over, thank you for continuing to bring the comfort the show brought so many of us. I wish I could watch it all for the first time again. I grew up watching Friends and falling asleep to it every single night. I couldn't help but see a similarity in the way New Girl made me feel warm and fuzzy. When I found New Girl, I was in an abusive relationship, and it was my getaway. I would sit up in my own world, zoning out to New Girl every single night. I never got enough. Cut to years later, I still put it on to end my days. I've seen every episode probably 20 to 30 times. My wonderful boyfriend just walks in and says, "Really? Again?" My kids are also always saying, "Come on, you've seen it a million times." It brings me just as much joy now as it did when I was at my lowest. Thank you for bringing the best of friend groups to our lives. I absolutely love every single episode, but that first season was an absolute banger, and it never stopped. Thank you again for all the warm and fuzzies and the laughs that turn to tears. Watch your back, because we've got your front. Love you guys. Devin. Oh, well, Devin, I am so happy with where your life has landed up, with a wonderful boyfriend, and it sounds really funny little kids. And it's really funny. People do say that. They say that New Girl is it's kind of like Friends, that kind of like iconic fun comedy. Again, a ton of episodes to kind of just keep you going, and a really solid friend group that feels like it's your friend group. So it's a nice little validation of that. Fun fact, Lamorne has never seen Friends. Isn't that crazy? I have this idea. I haven't pitched it to him. Maybe I will. That when we finally get through all the New Girl episodes, he and I should do a Friends rewatch episode, Friends rewatch podcast. I'd love to see him watch it. I think he'd like it. I think he'd become a diehard fan, to be honest with you. Anybody into that idea? It's just me. Okay. Our next letter is, hello. Who was the best unlikely duo, Schmidt and Robbie, or the classic Winston and Cece mess around? Thanks for the show. LeBeau Quasino? I don't know. It's a very beautiful sounding last name. LeBeau. Let's see. Who do I think was the best unlikely duo? I got to give it to Schmidt and Robbie. I love them together so much. I love that, like that they found common ground in their love for Cece. Also, Nelson Franklin is one of my favorite human beings. He's so kind, so funny, always up for anything. Like, he was just always up for anything. And we just like had the best sense of humor about it all, the best to act across from, made everybody break because he was just, he's so ridiculous. Like how he plays Robbie. Like you love him so much somehow, even though, with the sitcom formula, we know it's Schmidt and Cece. You really do root for Robbie. I love them together. I love the dynamic between Schmidt and Robbie. I mean, the Winston Cece mess around obviously has legs because here we are doing the podcast. But I don't know if they're the most unlikely duo. Like, I feel like they have a bunch of weird little things in common, which is why when they saw each other like that, they were like, ooh, let's go. Yeah. Oh, Schmidt and Robbie. Ugh, Nelson. Love Nelson. All right. Here is Ali from Miami. Could be Allie or Ali. Hey, Anna. I saw that Abbott Elementary was doing a crossover with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it got me thinking, what popular but tonally different sitcom could New Girl match with? We did a crossover episode with Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I don't know if that's really tonally different, though. I think Lamorne and I talked about this once in a Loft meeting, and we just were cracking up because we're like, like New Girl meets Succession or New Girl meets Breaking Bad. It'd be so fun to see the New Girl characters like in a drama, something really serious, because I just feel like they're all just like the most unserious people. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would go that route. Would be kind of great. I'm also watching the franchise right now, and that would also be really fun to see them all thrown into like a, big movie world. See how they would cope. All right, last one. Angelica. All right. Hello. I'm a huge fan of New Girl and y'all's podcast. I wish I could watch New Girl for the first time again because the show is so magical. You guys are such great friends and great actors. I couldn't even tell you guys are acting. I really want to be an actress, but I'm scared of people judging me. Can I please have some advice on acting? It would be my dream come true if you responded. Thank you so much. Have a good day / night, Angelica. Here's what I'll say. Maybe an unpopular take. But guess what? This is life. And there are people who aren't, smart enough to just read their own book, focus on themselves, measure themselves against themselves. And they do judge other people. But they're going to judge you whether you're acting or not. Right? But in one world, you get to be an actor. So do that. That's all about them. I always feel like when you find somebody doing something like that, like making you feel uncomfortable or making you feel like you're not good enough, you're really just learning about them. Right? And if you look at yourself and go like, all right, I'm learning and figuring it out. And I'm really proud of that, audition I did. And, oh, well, I could work more on this one. That's just you being honest with yourself and having growth and having those moments. But it's a normal fear, right? Because some people are just like not great people. And so they make you feel it by the way they look at you or little comments they might make. But they're just telling you about themselves, right? And they're going to be like that whether or not you're chasing your dream or not. I had that feeling. I definitely had that feeling. There weren't a lot of people that looked like me. I was worried I'd go out there and fail and everybody would be like, I told you so. And it did like delay, I feel like, me attempting to kind of break into this industry for a while. I was very worried about that kind of reaction. And then I don't know. I just had a moment where I was like, well, I got one life. So I'm going to not do things with my one life based on what someone who doesn't even care for me or love me might think or say. And that was kind of a bit of a turning point because they were just going to be like that anyway. So Angelica, I just say, go for it. Do all the acting classes, make your own content, and do what makes you really, really happy. I'll tell you this really quick story that Liz Merriweather told me. when she got the opportunity to write a pilot, and the biggest show on TV was Modern Family. And so, you should go like, well, I guess that's what they're into, that type of show. Like maybe we should do that type of show. And she was set down by some very wonderful person in this industry who said to her, well, look, the chances are low, right, of you making a show that's going to be a hit, right? And it's going to take a lot of time, even just to make that pilot. Like, it's going to take a lot of time to do it. So you might as well do something that's your story that you love. And so, she wasn't married at the time, didn't have kids at the time when she was like thinking of like, maybe should I do a Modern Family style show? So how would she relate to it? It's not her story. So she wrote a story about, a girl that's like, trying to get roommates and live in LA and start her life, and where her friends are her family and they're trying to figure it out and she's trying to figure it out, and they're dating and they're in that weird in between where you're not like a kid living at home anymore, but you're not, married and fully adulting. And that was the New Girl pilot. And because it was truthful to her and honest, and she could see the humor in her life, but it was heartfelt, it became the hit that New Girl is. So I encourage you to just kind of tell your truth and tell your story, Angelica. You'll do great, and forget the haters. All right, guys, that was a Loft Meeting. Thank you for hanging out with me. This was great. I can't wait to get more of your emails, video messages, photos. Send it all in. Just send it to themessaroundpod@gmail.com. If you like what I'm wearing, this cute little swag for the mess around, head to themessaroundpod.com. Buy it, because we always sell out. So if you like it, go snatch it up. Makes a great gift. And you can follow us on IG, The Mess Around Pod. Love you guys. Bye.